Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots. I'm a usability. Welcome. And today I want to talk about a story that came out that says that FBI agents have been working in the field with the United States military. And I thought that was kind of odd. We have what supposedly is a domestic law enforcement unit in the United States. Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA and Military Intelligence and NSA and all the rest are supposedly to handle outside threats and that sort of intelligence. I always understood the Federal Bureau of Investigation to be more about fighting crime in the United States. And for most of its existence, this has been true, but we have this post 9/11 world now where the FBI, along with all the other law enforcement agencies, are all basically commingling with the military and becoming all part of a national move to consolidate everything under military command. And we saw that trend, of course, in the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, where a lot of reserves and National Guard, who ordinarily wouldn't be doing that kind of duty, were put into the front lines around the globe, not necessarily the intention. And as another compatriot of mine, Mr. Jeff Dowdy, pointed out, that the same things happen with the Coast Guard, especially in the post 9/11 world. Same things happen with the Coast Guard, where it's integrated with the military in a way. It's involved in anti-terrorism drills and activities, and of course that blurry line between terrorist activities and drug war activities. And they have been cross-trained with military units, including special forces units. And we find that same thing with the FBI. It turns out they've been trained by military special forces, including Navy SEALs and Rangers. And they have a history of that. And that makes sense to a certain extent. But now we have FBI agents in the field, apparently, and not very large amounts at any one time, 12 agents or so. But the fact is that over a period of time, they've been involved and participated in hundreds of raids in Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, and Somalia. So you have FBI in combat zones. And we know they're in combat zones because we've had at least one FBI agent wounded in the field, and other agents discussing shooting at the enemy side by side in the field. And one FBI spokesman said, quote, "We thought prevention begins outside the U.S., unquote." So that's their justification for taking this domestic agency into the international and military field. And we've seen this integration with military and law enforcement before. We're seeing it now down in Nevada in this showdown. The combined military and FBI were used at both Waco, Texas, and Ruby Ridge, and we saw how those events ended up. So this is this problem now that we have in this post 9/11 world. Another thing about the FBI in the post 9/11 world is the size of it is doubled. So we have all the more bureaucracy, all the more agents, all the more administration, and it's all involved in intelligence and counterterrorism now. So that's its main two functions now. So it's now functioning as another arm of the military, another arm of NSA, another arm of CIA, another arm of the military-industrial complex. And of course, to go along with that, we get the corporate culture, the bureaucracy, and the inherent inefficiency. And the list of what the FBI priorities now says something, because it used to be a different order, certainly before 9/11. So the FBI priorities now are: number one is to protect the U.S. from terrorist attacks. Number two, protect the U.S. from foreign intelligence and espionage. Number three, protect the U.S. against cyber attacks and high-tech crime. Number four, combat public corruption. Number five, protect civil rights. Number six, combat criminal enterprises. Number seven, combat major white-collar crime. Number eight, combat significant violent crime. So essentially, the bottom of the list used to be the top of the list as a domestic agency, but now that it's gone international, it's going hand in hand with all the other intelligence agencies. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought one of the things they wanted to do after 9/11 was consolidate, so there wasn't so much turf battles and miscommunication between and redundancy between all these different agencies. And it seems like we have a lot more agencies than we used to have before, so there's even more confusion. If nothing else, just adding the Department of Homeland Security and that massive bureaucracy. Another thing I wanted to point out too is number 3 on that list. It says to protect the U.S. against cyber attacks and, quote, high-tech crime, unquote. And unfortunately, what that means is a lot of copyright infringement and property rights issues for corporations. So I wanted to point that out, that the FBI is also doing a lot of dirty work for America's bankers and corporations. And it's also interesting, too, that it's documented that the FBI was completely aware of the mortgage fraud leading up to the collapse. And so theoretically could have done something to head off the real estate collapse and rein in mortgage fraud and everything that's come with it. But instead, they're protecting us from terrorist attacks and foreign intelligence and espionage, and not very well, I might add. And that's where their priorities are now. And one former agent said that when he discussed mortgage fraud with Robert Mueller, who's the head of the FBI, his eyes glazed over, quote unquote, and he couldn't have been less interested because he wanted to focus in on the new game in town, terrorism, because he was appointed by Bush mere days or weeks, I believe, before 9/11. An interesting coincidence in itself. So there we have it. We have the FBI now, like all law enforcement agencies, that's being cross-trained and being just juxtaposed into a military world. Same tactics, same weapons, and now, as it turns out, operating overseas in the same theaters of operation. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.